Am I crazy to put real hardwood flooring into a motorhome? That's the question. So what I have ordered is eucalyptus flooring. This is from a company called Ambient, which is on the East Coast, so I had it shipped all the way out here. But I have not seen eucalyptus flooring previously or ever, but it is extremely hard. This is along the lines of bamboo. This company sells bamboo and eucalyptus. And so it's real hardwood flooring. It's 1/2 inch thick. It's tongue and groove. And we're going to give it a shot.
A new place, a new home, for a while, let me feel alive. Nothing to hold me back, take my time, just enjoy the ride. A new man passing by, life is good, best I've ever felt.
Okay, this is the new flooring, and I'm just considering a couple of installation questions. And this is about orientation, pretty much. The question is, do you run it lengthwise with the RV, which is how I did it last time? And if I do that, the thing I did last time was 50-50 each board. The joints were half of each board. This time, I'm thinking about doing the joints where it's more like 1/3 of the board or 1/4 of the board, and then it follows that pattern. And so that's something to think about. The other thing is, what if we run these boards the other way in the RV, which I'm really kind of thinking about now. And how would that look, and how would it be for installation? How would it be if I were to repair something versus the other way? I mean, these things, you can't just pop a board out. They do, they do slide together sideways and forwards, so I guess a repair isn't that easy no matter what. But if it were here and you were on an end, shoot, you still have to take out pretty much the whole floor. I'm not sure it matters too much as far as repairs go. Let's assume that we're going to stop all the water leaks from coming in and not ruin the wood. Okay, this is my idea. Last time when I did flooring in here, the challenge was how to keep the slide out when it comes in and lands on the floor from scratching it. And my idea is to adhere these adhesive carpet tiles to the underside of the slide out so that when it lands on the new wood flooring, that it doesn't scratch it. And so I put the slide in about, about 1.5 ish. And when it's at this point, it hasn't landed yet. So you can see under here, and so we can it's got this fiberglass. I think it's fiberglass or plastic. There's just a piece that runs all the way along here, and that's what lands on the floor and slides along once it gets all the way closed. So I'm going to clean it up real good while it's halfway in and out here where I can get under it, and I'm going to see if I can adhere these to the underside of that. Seems to work really well. I hope this works, because I don't know how the hell I get these things back off again if this interferes in some way. Definitely going to vacuum all this out really good. Yes. Yes. I like it. I like it. Stick really well to this. There, now you can see what it looks like before, and with the carpet tiles stuck on there. So I think this is pretty good. I'm excited to see how it works. So I'm under the slide on the outside now with these carpets in here, and I see a potential flaw in my plan, and that is there's a gasket here which seals this sucker up, and now it was sealing right to this fiberglass. Now it's got this carpet in here. Well, I didn't fit them perfectly tight together. I wasn't really thinking about that. So I'm sure it seals out water as well, though I don't know, water wouldn't be under here very much. Maybe it's not as good as airtight sealed it was. I don't think it's gonna come off though. That stuff sticks on there really good, so it's pretty much there. I don't know how to ever get it back off again. Okay, so I have now cut what will be the first 2 rows of flooring. And actually I guess 3 if you count the little pieces here that are around the sides of the slide. And I'm kind of just test fitting the ends right now to make sure that everything is where I want it. Fortunately this gap's going to have to show because it's kind of the mechanics of the slide right there, and I'm a little afraid of trying to get any wood in there, so that's just going to be the ugliest part, I guess. But what I've done is I've notched this out right here. That'll go around there's wheels, there's one on each end, the other one is notched also. There's big wheels that the slide rolls on when it comes in, and that's the notch around the wheels. So that way this flooring essentially goes all the way to the functional edge of the RV. So anyway, the installation will commence. Getting glue on this is the challenge. I'm gonna have to put the glue on and then slide the pieces in, and I'm still figuring out how that's gonna happen. So let's just watch and see. I haven't glued anything yet, and before I proceed with the gluing, I just want to make sure I'm happy with how everything's fitting together and make sure I got my pattern the way I like it. So I'm working in fourths in 1 foot. The boards are 4 feet, so I'm doing a pattern that switches every 1 foot. So that means it'll be 4 boards before you repeat the same grout, the same joint line again. So kind of stair steps. So this is how my pattern starts right here. Okay, now I'm going to do the just verification test. The slide is going to function, and I'm pretty nervous about this. I mean, I had pre-tested it before I ordered the flooring, but now now that it's installed, I don't know what's going to happen. So here we go. Oh, my jackets, that's okay. Or nothing. So far, I'm totally fine with it. This is totally good. Just climbed right on over. I'm gonna go a little bit more. She's gonna be real happy with this new floor. Okay. My floor isn't actually glued down yet. I'm just loving this tiny groove because you can temporarily put it together and slowly work on all these custom cuts. It takes a lot of time and a lot of trips back and forth to the saw, but I'm pretty happy with how everything's fitting in here. So tempting just to leave the floor floating because it looks so good, but no, my plan is still to pull all this up and go ahead and glue it down, but just there's a lot of trial and error getting all these little pieces in, so I'll show you how I tackle what might be one of my hardest cuts here. I know the length of, I'm first figuring out the total longest, the longest board, or the longest point of the board here. I need to make sure it lines up with my pattern in the wood, so I've kind of got an idea of that. But this particular cut, normally I can just take measurements and draw out how I want to cut a board, and I'm usually pretty good with that. But this has got complicated angles and curves and everything else, so I can take advantage of this little tool that I have, and I will see how well I can do this. Now this little metal is actually a trim piece that covers up the edge of the shower, so I'll put that in place after the wood's in and re-secure it so that it works right there. So I need to figure out how to recreate this with this tool, at least as much of it as I can. Okay, now after I cut my board to length, I will trace this onto the board and see how I do. I don't know that it'll be perfect, but it'll certainly give me a much closer approximation of what this is. Okay, we're going to call that Okay, so a preventable mistake here that I made. I cut most all these boards ahead of time before I started gluing anything down, just to make sure, but I didn't cut this one around the wall into the bathroom, and I should have, because I would have realized that I need to slide that in there before all these other boards come in. But now these are installed and glued down, and there's no way to do it. I did undercut the wall, so this piece would slide in there. In fact, I could have not even cut this part out. I could have just cut this part of the wall out and it would have slid in there, but now the only way I can get it in is to make a little cut right here and take it into two pieces, and it's not the end of the world because the door frame will go back on and probably pretty well hide that, so it's not the end of the world. But the interesting thing, speaking of door frame, is these door frames look like they could be plastic. They're actually metal, and they're not glued on, they're screwed on. So I was able to remove the door frames along with the door, and then use a hacksaw to trim the bottom off so that I can reinstall them over the door, so I can really get a nice clean edge when I install this. So anyway, so yeah, the benefit of using this tongue and groove wood is you can test fit everything before you glue it, but make sure you actually do test fit all the important pieces before you get even near them with glue. That way, if there's something that's kind of hard to install, you can work it out without pieces, without the glued in pieces already stuck there. So that's the lesson. So this is all coming out really pretty great, but remember in the last episode I showed you where the water had been seeping in the back of the RV. So unfortunately, because of that, I do need to give it a lot more time to dry out. So this is as far as we can go on the wood floor at this point. I have to pick it back up when I get down to Arizona. So look in the notes, and I'll certainly link the video when I do get this floor finished and show you how it all came out when it's all totally said and done.
'Cause I found my way, my way, my way, on my way, my way. I found my way, I found my way. I was in the dark against it all.